Hello everyone, and welcome to today's lecture on school-based activities for transition services. IDA 2004, this is the definition of the transition services, where it's a coordinated set of activities with a results-oriented process in the areas of post-secondary education, continuing adult education, adult services, independent living, and community participation. This is the cycle of transition planning. Starts with the age-appropriate assessment. We talked about transition assessment, and you guys did your presentations. We talked about post-school goals, and now we're leading into transition services, agencies, annual goals, and the student vision. This is the transition services flow chart. As you can see, it starts at the top with the age-appropriate assessments, leads to the post-secondary goals, then services, course of study, agencies, and goals. We are at the part now where we are talking about transition services. So if you have heard of CTE classes or career technical education, these are organized programs that are directed to prepare students using work-based learning experiences for a career other than a baccalaureate or advanced degree. This is the mission of CTE is to empower students for participation in a world-class or as world-class workers and citizens. The traditional focus of vocational education is giving way to a broader purpose, one that includes a greater emphasis on academic preparation and provides a wider range of career choices. As you can see from the chart, the changing purpose of CTE in the economic or the early 20s, it was about meeting the industry needs, and then it moved more into improving labor force, equal opportunity for our special populations in the 50s and 60s, and now we're looking more at technical preparation, accountability, integrated curriculum, work-based learning experiences. I love this slide. Yesterday's automobile took 200 workers to build. Today's takes 3 workers and a robot. The nation's top growth industries include health, education, and tech and engineering. So if we look at those specifically, you have all of the jobs on the screen that are in those particular fields. So manufacturing is down, but the United States is still the second largest exporter of goods, and 61% of all exports are manufactured goods, and that doubled. It's doubled in the last 10 years. Assembly lines are not automated, but if you are skilled at doing that, you can find a job. 10% of all engineers have a disability, and computer assistant analyst is a highly accessible career. This is a neat article about small businesses for individuals with disabilities, and I will post this so that you can download it. So why is CTE important for students with disabilities? We're going to talk about some legislation that pertains to CTE. The Carl Perkins Act of 1984 has been reauthorized several times, but the intent was to have accessibility for all students, to improve quality of work programs designed to prepare workers, and then it has increased its academic achievement and post-secondary education, improving state and local accountability, and really builds on that tech prep foundation now. The Carl Perkins Act is due to be authorized in 2013 or 14. The Department of Ed has released a blueprint for transforming CTE. They're hoping to align the programs with 21st century skills, and we're seeing that some of that Common Core stuff is going to come into play with innovation. Students cannot be discriminated against due to their status as a special population. Disadvantaged students, academically disadvantaged, that is scores that are below the 25th percentile on the standardized achievement or aptitude test, secondary school grades below 2.0 on a 4.0 scale. They fail to attain minimum academic competencies. This does not include students with LD. Or learning disabilities. And economically disadvantages means that there are aid to families with dependent children. There's Chapter 1 programs, free and reduced lunch, food stamps, and then they're determined to be low income based on the Department of Commerce data. Migrant students, limited English proficiency. Dropouts and potential dropouts have consistent low achievement, high rates of absenteeism, no motivation, constant discipline problems, delinquent behavior in school and community. And then other would be the sex equity, which is individuals who participate in programs to eliminate sex bias. Foster children are served by the North Carolina Department of Social Services. Individuals in correctional institutes must be under jurisdiction of a juvenile court system of our general courts. The Carl Perkins Act outlines the criteria for those who are members of special populations. Each student who is a member of a special population is entitled to certain assurances when assessing or participating in CTE services. And those are listed here on your screen. Equal access to recruitment, enrollment, and placement activities, equal access to the full range of vocational educational programs, provision of vocational education and LR in the least restrictive environment, and coordinated vocational planning that is consistent with the IEP. Here's a few more of those provisions. So in North Carolina, students must meet the Future Ready course of study graduation requirements. They encourage students to use their 4 elective credits to complete a concentration in a special interest such as CTE by earning at least 4 credits in a discipline, including 1 at an advanced level. So to qualify as a CTE concentrator for graduation and for federal reporting purposes, students must earn 4 credits within one of the 16 career clusters. And these 16 career clusters are listed here, and they will students work with their career development coordinator, counselor, CTE teacher to help decide what courses help them focus on their career intents and post-secondary goals. These are some examples of the CTE activities and components. This is an example of a business and information technology education blueprint. Through the Carl Perkins Act, students enrolled in CTE courses must develop a career development plan. If a student is a member of one or more populations, they can have a PLUS plan, but they must indicate on that plan that the student has been assessed and either needs or does not need additional services or assistance to access, progress in, or succeed within the vocational class. Students may be required to pass a safety test before working and using tools in the lab or shop area. The IEP team should choose an appropriate program for the student based on interest, ability, and readiness of the student to not only master the safety test, but to participate in the class without compromising the student or classmate's safety. And then some people think about, will a one-on-one aid reduce or eliminate the safety concern? I like this saying, when I was young, I knew I wanted to be someone. Now I wish I would have been more specific. So what is career education? Program restructuring is often needed to ensure the inclusion of transition activities. Restructuring can take place in many forms, but the final outcome should be an array of curricular options appropriate for students with a wide variety of post-school goals. North Carolina high schools restructure for the implementation of the occupational course of study. Career development is a process just like learning to walk or learning to talk. The stages of career development overlap and are ongoing throughout your entire life. The appropriate time for initiating each of the stages of career development for students with disabilities will depend more on the development level versus the student's grade level. Career education has 4 stages beginning in elementary school and extending into high school, and they definitely overlap. Career education is a developmental process, and some students will move more quickly than others on their functional level, home environment, motor skills, and even communication skills. The stages of career education, career awareness begins in elementary school to provide awareness of the existence of workers, and how the student will fit into the work-oriented society. Some examples of career awareness activities could be learning why people work, learning about various careers or responsibilities of those careers, development of a work personality including a work ethic and understanding of one's strengths, interests, and limitations, development of interpersonal relationship skills, and problem-solving skills. How important is the concept of career education at the elementary level? Elementary school students aren't ready to make career choices, but they can begin to make connections between money and work. And start thinking about what they can do someday to make money. Elementary school students need to understand the wide variety of jobs that are available in today's workplace. They need to go beyond just the typical occupations of a policeman, a fireman, a nurse, a doctor, and develop an appreciation of working class and service jobs that many people hold: cashier, bus driver, electrician, etc. Our society puts a higher respect value on jobs where you work with your mind versus jobs where you work with your hands. It's like the blue collar versus white collar. But there was some studies done that observed that many of today's youth have not rejected work, rather they have never heard of it. They have never seen it, touched it, smelled it, or done it. Few of our children grow up as part of a family enterprise, and they do not see their parents working every day. So being in high school, it's too late to start working on work habits and work behaviors, because elementary is really where the work habits are formed that will be needed later on in your life. So it's important that at an early age we begin to relate academics to be the real world. So unfortunately, implementation at the elementary level is often difficult because elementary students are educated primarily in subjects. It's a common belief that most aspects of occupational development can be delayed until high school, and elementary level special education teachers claim to have little or no training in teaching career ed content and resources. And then most of the career-related and transition skills curriculum guides and materials are geared towards older children. Career exploration is the second stage of career development. This stage should be emphasized particularly during middle school, although it never really ends. During this stage, students should be given a chance to examine firsthand the number of occupational groupings such as agricultural work, office work, home economics, public service, business, industry. They should be allowed to obtain various hands-on experiences, be given opportunities to examine their own particular set of interests and needs, abilities, and relate that to the world of work. This begins in middle school and continues into high school. Some examples would be participation on on-campus jobs or a school-based enterprise, development of physical and manual skills needed to do various jobs, and then maybe more in-depth investigation of personal interests. Career preparation is the third stage. This occurs the senior year of high school, and this is when the student begins to develop and clarify personal, social, and occupational knowledge and skills. Some examples would be participation in a paid part-time job, development of job-seeking skills such as filling out applications, doing interviews, and then the development of self-advocacy skills. Career placement, follow-up, and continuing education is the final stage of the career education process. This stage of development may require the involvement of several community agencies to assure that individuals are obtaining satisfactory vocational, leisure, and independent living roles. Examples could be participation in paid employment, even supported employment, interagency coordination aimed at ensuring a smooth transition from school to adult life, and then finalizing plans for the accomplishments of post-school goals in all areas. A school-based enterprise is a real-world experience in which students play key leadership roles as they produce and deliver products and services valued by beyond the classroom door. The scope and complexity of enterprises are limitless. Proper design School-based enterprises effectively teach students both academic and work-related skills. As students entrepreneurs designs and operate this business, they learn and apply academics while practicing leadership, teamwork, problem solving, and analytics. The next few slides have pictures of examples of school-based enterprises and things that, actually it's only one picture and then it goes back and forth. If you think about in the classroom, it's listed on the left side, the things that you can do to reach the school-based enterprise. On the right, what students learn from those activities. A school-based enterprise empowers students to become managers in an enterprise rather than learning a particular job within a business. It operates responsibility from ethical, social, and economic perspectives. It promotes academics to long-term achievement. And the 21st century workforce is going to need to be productive and technologically astute. School-based enterprises can broaden this career horizon, raise their aspirations, and develop the work-related skills that they need to demonstrate self-determination, problem-solving, analytic thinking, decision-making, leadership, and teamwork. It says that some companies hire for reason one, which would be the superficial things like smile, composure, looks, dress, personality, manners, interest, and goals. Some companies for reasons 1 and 2 would be knowledge and experiences, but most companies lose people because of reason 3, and that would be their personal responsibility, communication, social skills, attitude, commitment, stress management, self-management, and motivation. Some more benefits of a school-based enterprise. Students learn how to do spreadsheets, databases, online sales. They become familiar with real-world business practices, inventory. They learn to implement standard accounting and money management procedures. They develop and carry out marketing, advertising strategies, develop and maintain positive customer relations. They implement quality control procedures. They form, sustain, and work in teams. They supervise and provide feedback about the performance of others. They improve communication through interactions with a wide variety of groups. They make decisions about products and services. Students help develop governing structure, personal policies, hiring policies, practices, and procedures. And then the money generated helps to fund materials needed and can eventually become self-supporting. Students should be able to gain knowledge and be able to transfer skills learned in the school-based enterprise into other areas. It can broaden their horizons, definitely, to help them in their interests and expand career opportunities. Some examples of applied academics would be writing skills, thank you notes, apology letters, shopping lists, menus, flyers, posters. Here's some examples of applied academics in math. Although employers have identified these skills as being among the most important competencies youth workers need, 3/4 of those participating in this survey, Corporate Voices for Human Families, Partnership for 21st Century Skills, and Society for Human Resources ranked new high school graduates as deficient in these soft skill areas. Here's an important reminder about school-based enterprise. It is not designed to prepare students for sheltered workshop or sheltered employment. It doesn't really matter which of the models that you choose between simulated industry setting, performing tasks for nonprofit agencies or small business manufacturing items, or providing services. It's particular to your individual needs, but the important thing is for it to be student-directed and operate on a daily basis just like the real world of work. Here's the pictures I was speaking of earlier of specific jobs. Here's Mustang Detailing Service. It's where students were cleaning the cars to raise money. Here's the KM Joe To Go. This is products that they make. Here we have manufactured items, school stores, and service business ideas here in this chart. Ideas for a school-based enterprise, you've got laundry service, sewing service, jewelry items, refinishing, buttons, grow things, make things, wrap supplies for the Red Cross, collating projects, polish silverware, recycle, clerical work, contract work, etc. This says when your price is very high, people assume that your product must be good. This is cute. During the planning stage, you have to address what product or service will you offer. Who does your market survey suggest are your potential customers? How will you staff? What advertising strategies will you use? And then what are your costs? It's recommended that school-based enterprises pass the following criteria before implementation in order to receive a high degree of simulation accuracy. First, an accurate task analysis must be developed to fully detail the steps in producing each service or product that is produced by the school-based enterprise. Based on the task analysis, accurate, easy measurements can be developed to measure both. The students can do the vast majority of the task in the task analysis. School resources and personnel are sufficient. Conditions closely resembling actual work demands can be simulated for the school-based enterprise. Work adjustment funds come from the vocational rehabilitation. A reminder again that a school-based enterprise or small business is designed to prepare students, designed to prepare students for sheltered employment. So for some marketing ideas, you just start to put things into practice and see what happens. You pay attention to your gut feeling. If something's not productive, move forward. Time is not only limited, but it's very valuable. Here's an example of a marketing tool for the specialty car cleaning. Here's an example of an evaluation form of how you would evaluate the student's progress in a school-based enterprise. In order for the students to benefit, the instruction has to take place. Sometimes school-based enterprises can be chaotic and unstructured. Take time to develop a schedule, make assignments like you would just like lesson plans for any other class. The other things will fall into place. Once you know what you need, don't be afraid to ask for things such as special accommodations to the workforce, specialized equipment. Dream big, and who knows where you'll end up. Develop a method for evaluation for student performance, and make sure students understand how their grades will be determined. Determine if students are going to be paid. Often in-school work adjustment is used for the school-based enterprise, and a token system can be an effective means to using honor exemplary work. So here's a cartoon that says it's just like any other day at work except for where I sneezed by the paper shredder. So that leads us to management issues. How will materials be handled and stored? What types of safety issues can be considered? How will inclusion be promoted? How will students' VR work stipends be handled? Scheduling, staffing, facilities. What's the level of funding, student roles, etc. Here is a survey for the Mustang Car Detailing Service, a survey for damages or scratches. This is an example of this is a video clip I'm going to put on Moodle for you. The NLTS-2 data show that 15% of youth with disabilities hold work-study jobs in a given year. About 30% with intellectual disability have a work-study job. The most common work-study placement, 19%, are in the food industry, 16% are in maintenance, and 15% in clerical. More than 90% receive school credit and pay for work-study. For cafeteria worker, office assistant, groundskeeper, physical education, athletic assistant, lab assistant. It's been done for years for gen ed students, and it's not done as much anymore due to the rigorous academic standards. Some students enrolled in CTE may choose to join a career tech education organization. Participation in these organizations is a recognized instructional strategy for assisting students in achieving goals for each course in addition to enhancing the development of skills that are applicable to a wide variety of careers. Career tech ed organization activities can occur both in school or after school. Some organizations are CECNC, Career Exploration Clubs in North Carolina, DECA for Marketing Education, Future Business Leaders of America, Future Farmers of America, Future Homemakers of America, Health Occupation Student Association, Technology Student Association, Vocational Instructional Clubs of America are some examples. Former President Bill Clinton said, "We are living in a world where you earn is a function of what you learn." So what is your level of knowledge about the occupational course of study? It was adopted by the Board of Education in the year 2000. The first diploma through occupational course of study wasn't until 2004. The occupational course of study is a transition-focused curriculum framework that includes career exploration, provides opportunity to develop a work history, and teaches self-determination. Here's some examples of the course of study requirements. And other than those, you have your CT credits, arts, electives, career portfolio, IEP objectives, and there is no. So here we have the North Carolina Virtual Public School, which is online coursework for students with disabilities. There are about 2,100 students in courses right now, and there are 61 online teachers and 320 face-to-face teachers. Some of the benefits of the OCS program: meets all requirements of IDEA. You are providing opportunities to obtain a diploma with curriculum that's matched to post-school goals, emphasizes self-determination, it decreases dropout rate and behavior problems. So possible characteristics of students whom OCS might be appropriate: you have significant deficits in reading and math, below average in social skills and adaptive skills, they lack experience in making decisions, setting goals, the learning style that requires a do-it-to-learn-it instructional approach. They may have disabilities in addition to cognitive disabilities, such as hearing, visual, physical, emotional, and medical. The IEP team considerations when determining eligibility for OCS is the desires of the student and the parent, recommendations of former teachers. The decision should not be based on label or type of disability. So first, they have school-based training activities, which include job fairs, mock interviews, vocational organization leadership in school-sponsored community projects, school-based enterprises. Work-based training activities are listed on your screen. An interesting requirement of OCS is the successful completion of competitive work hours, 360. It's at or above minimum wage in a pathway.